Welcome to the car cult. Since the invention of cars, humans have been chasing after the fastest, biggest, and loudest. We can go all the way back to 1894, when the first production car to set a world record was the Benz Velo with an eye-watering 12 miles per hour. We haven't looked back since, with Aston, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and others setting world records at various times over the last 100 years. Before we launch into our top 10 list, there are some ground rules. The list only covers production cars, so no land speed record holders. Only the launch production cars will be included in their fastest special edition. That means this list will not include every single variant of a production car that may have simply had a new paint job. Now, with that out the way, here are some honorable mentions. First up is the McLaren F1, which famously set the world record in March 1998, when a modified F1 with the rev limiter raised to 8,300 RPM blew the previous record of 217 miles per hour, set by a XJ220 in 1993 when it went 240.1 miles per hour. This record was so unprecedented that it took another 15 years before the McLaren F1's record was surpassed. If this monster took your fancy, you would have to spend the best part of $25 million to get your hands on one of the last remaining McLaren F1s. One person who did just that was Elon Musk, who used it as the launch vehicle for his first SpaceX rocket. Unfortunately, the landing mechanism wasn't quite perfected as it is today, and he crashed his uninsured McLaren F1 in 2000. And what's more, he still managed to sell the car at a profit. Next up is the car that took the record from the McLaren F1, the Koenigsegg CCR. The record 241.1 miles per hour run was set at Italy's Nardo Ring test track in February 2005. Koenigsegg's second ever production model used a 4.7-liter twin supercharged V8 to produce north of 800 brake horsepower. The record was short-lived, however, with Bugatti re-entering the car market with the unquestionably great Bugatti Veyron. But more on that later. Now on to the top 10 fastest production cars in the world. Since the McLaren F1's world record-setting pace, it took McLaren another 22 years to beat their own top speed with the $2.2 million McLaren Speedtail. Released in 2020 after the reintroduction of the McLaren road car brand, the McLaren Speedtail is designed to be the successor to the McLaren F1, with the 3-seat configuration giving the driver the ultimate racing position in the center of the car. The McLaren Speedtail combines a 747 brake horsepower twin-turbo 4-liter V8 with a 309 brake horsepower electric motor to deliver a total output of 1,055 brake horsepower and a top speed of 250 miles per hour. In at number 9 is the Bugatti Veyron. The bosses of VW Group set the team at Bugatti the task of producing the fastest car in the world. No easy task, considering Bugatti had been languishing since its last supercar, the EB110, which was produced all the way back in 1991. In 2005, the first Bugatti Veyron rolled off the production line and into the hands of its owners. What was, at the time, the most expensive and most powerful road car ever built, produced 987 brake horsepower from an 8-liter quad-turbo-charged W16 engine, coming fitted with a 7-speed automatic gearbox sending power to all 4 wheels, making driving at over 200 miles per hour feel like a Sunday drive. The car has to be put into its top speed mode for the record-breaking run, activated with a special key that retracts the rear spoiler, shuts the front air diffuser, and lowers the ground clearance to just 6.5 centimeters. The result, the world's first production car to break the 250 miles per hour barrier, setting a top speed of 253.8 miles per hour. SSC, then known as Shelby Supercars, produced the ultimate aero with a supercharged Chevrolet Corvette V8 engine. In September 2007, the team pumped up the aero a few notches when they fitted the new TT edition with a twin turbocharged V8, which produced 1,083 brake horsepower. Using a 2-lane stretch of public road near the Washington Company's headquarters, the aero set an average top speed of just over 256 miles per hour, taking the production car speed record, and with that, SSC was propelled into the consciousness of all petrol heads around the world. In at number 7 is the standard Bugatti Chiron. Introduced in 2016 as a replacement for the Veyron, the $3 million Chiron retains the quad-turbo W16 engine, but now significantly enhanced to produce 1,079 horsepower and 1,180 pound-feet of torque. The Chiron's top speed is officially limited to 261 miles per hour, making it slower than the special version of its predecessor, the Veyron Supersport. However, we may be seeing another Chiron variant further up this list. With the Americans having taken the record, Bugatti pushed the Veyron to the limit with a significant overhaul of its power and aerodynamics in order to take back the record, something they would achieve in July 2010 when the 1,184 brake horsepower Bugatti Veyron Supersport set a new production car speed record of 267.8 miles per hour. Bugatti would only produce 30 Veyron Supersports, but with the record in the bag, it was worth every dollar of its $2.7 million price tag. Bugatti Veyron Supersport has the notable distinction of being the car that made the slowest man, very briefly, the fastest man on the planet. Captain Slow himself, James May, would send the car to 259 miles per hour, breaking the world record, only for his thunder to be stolen 10 minutes later when Bugatti test driver Pierre-Henri Raffinel set an official new production car record of 267.8 miles per hour. The American tuning house Hennessy Performance Engineering introduced the Venom GT, which used a Lotus as its foundation, and in 2014 would controversially break the record set by the Bugatti Veyron Supersport. In February 2014, at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, the Hennessy Venom GT took off from the Space Shuttle landing strip when it recorded a one-way high speed of 270.49 miles per hour. Unfortunately, NASA wouldn't let Hennessy do a return run, which meant Guinness World Record wouldn't recognize it as an official record. We at the Car Cult are a little more generous and believe the Venom GT has more than proven it can match the best when it broke the 270 miles per hour barrier. After the success of the Venom GT, Hennessy Performance Engineering went for a different approach and built its next car, the Venom F5, as a clean sheet design. The Venom F5 comes packed with a twin-turbocharged 6.6-liter V8 that produces an earth-shattering 1,117 brake horsepower and 1,190 3-foot-pounds of torque. With its carbon tub, the Hennessy has reached 271.6 miles per hour and promises a top speed of 341 miles per hour. The Swedish legends at Koenigsegg would use a customer-owned Agera RS to set a new world record in 2017. Using a closed stretch of Nevada State Route 160, the Agera RS's twin-turbo 5-liter V8 engine would produce a massive 1,360 brake horsepower as it thumped its way to 277.8 miles per hour. In so doing, the Agera RS would not only claim the fastest production car record, but would also break an 80-year-old record for the highest speed recorded on a public road, beating a modified Mercedes W125 Grand Prix car, which managed 268 miles per hour back in 1938. Yes, next we have the SSC Tuatara, which since its claim of capturing the fastest production car record has been steeped in controversy. SSC claimed they had achieved an official record top speed. However, this was debunked by a cavalcade of YouTube personalities, such as Shmee150, who using the video footage showed that it was not possible for the car to have achieved the record as SSC claimed. Tuatara itself would eventually admit that there may have been accuracy issues with the data logging kit. That said, with the SSC producing 1,750 brake horsepower when running on E85 bioethanol fuel, owner Larry Kaplan recorded a verified 295 miles per hour at the Kennedy Space Center in 2022. Now to our number 1, the Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300+. With that kind of name, it had better achieve over 300 miles per hour. And it did just that when at the VW Group's test track, Andy Wallace achieved a record-setting 304.7 miles per hour. The car was given a new gearbox with longer ratios and front and rear bumpers that were optimized for high-speed runs. To combine with its 1,578 brake horsepower, nearly 100 brake horsepower more than the standard Chiron to get over the line. Who will be next to break the record? What may come as a surprise is the next fastest car in the world is unlikely to come from Italy. The prized supercar manufacturers Ferrari and Lamborghini appear to have no interest in chasing after this accolade and have settled into offering the most sought-after exotic cars produced by any manufacturer in the world. Another manufacturer that may not appear on the top of this list again is Bugatti, which with its new partnership with Rimac will be replacing its famous world-beating W16 engine with an electric drivetrain. Instead, the most likely candidates could come from the land of the brave and home of the free, the United States of America, and from the home of flat-pack furniture and meatballs, Sweden. The manufacturers of both SSC Tuatara and Hennessy Venom F5 believe their cars have more to give and could break the record. Koenigsegg's Jesko Absolute seems to be geared to smash the world record with a rumored top speed of 330 miles per hour. With its release just around the corner, we may not be waiting long before the Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300 Plus is knocked off the top spot. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this one and helping this channel grow, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon. And if you have any suggestions for content you would like to see on this channel, leave a comment below. And that's it for now. Welcome to the Car Cult. On today's list, we look forward to the most exciting car-related entertainment across movies, video games, and TV that are due to land in 2023. Last year was a bumper year in the video games industry, with the release of Gran Turismo 7, Need for Speed Unbound, and Grid Legends to positive acclaim. However, we couldn't say the same about movies, with no major car-related movie being released in 2022. That's all about to change in 2023. With some big movies coming out, as well as the return of some story-driving franchises. We are only including entertainment products that are announced or likely to be released in 2023. So as much as we would love to believe that GTA 6 will be released in 2023, we highly doubt we will see the most anticipated game of the century until 2024 at the earliest, based on the notoriously long development cycles at Rockstar Games. Subscribe to the channel for some previews of the game ahead of its release. Before we launch into our top 10 list, here are some honorable mentions. First up is the 2023 annualized entry of the F1 game. While still not officially announced, we would be willing to bet that we receive a new entry from developer Codemasters. With the hiatus of the single-player story mode, Breaking Point, in the F1 22 entry, we are expecting the sequel to this mode in this year's entry. We are also likely to see some of the new real-life tracks this year with the appearance of the Las Vegas Street Circuit and the new Cater Grand pre-track. We are also expecting a more accurate reflection of the new updated F1 cars that were introduced in 2022. Maybe we will even get a new porpoising effect on the Mercedes cars. Next up is something entirely new, from developer Neuron Haze. This promises to be an MMO racing game set within a Mad Max-style environment. A post-apocalyptic world. In this cruel new world, gamers will be fighting for a precious resource called Vigor. By choosing a car class, installing deadly weapons, and repairing your vehicle in order to survive. Expect to not only race, but also battle other gamers in PvP and PvE events. Now on to the top 10 most exciting car-related entertainment coming in 2023. In at number 10 is IndyCar from Motorsport Games. Expected to be released on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S in 2023. This is an entirely new game coming from the developers of the NASCAR game franchise that promises to give some love to the IndyCar nation. The game will feature North America's premier open-wheel racing series, competing across a diverse set of oval, road, and street courses. Motorsport games also plan to create an EA Sport competition for players to test their mettle. At 9 is a game from former Burnout developers at Three Fields Entertainment. Recreation promises to take all its learnings from Danger Zone and Danger Zone driving and create a fast, over-the-top racing game. Expected to feature high-speed driving and over-the-top crashes in a living online world where players can create new tracks and stunts in a 400-kilometer sandbox in real time in front of their friends. As you progress through the game, you'll unlock more and more crazy obstacles to introduce to the open world, such as moving windmills and giant cows. The game is due to launch on previous and current-gen consoles as well as on PC in 2023. Next up is the ever-present UK version of Top Gear. Whilst the years after the Clarkson era have not always gone to plan, what we have dubbed as the Harris era is very much now in full flow with its three main presenters, Chris Harris, Paddy McInnes, and Andrew Flintoff. In December, news broke that Freddie Flintoff had been hurt in an accident at the Top Gear test track while filming the next series of Top Gear. The BBC reported that the accident did not happen at high speed and fortunately was not life-threatening. Not much has been revealed about the upcoming series, but we can surely expect fast cars and exotic locations. Our next entry is a sequel to a game that was released 12 years ago. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is the successor to Test Drive Unlimited 2. The new game is set in Hong Kong, providing an ambitious 1-to-1 scale open-world map size. You will be able to mix racing down the busy city streets with twisting country and mountainous roads. Your goal in this game is to compete in races, collect supercars, and secure the Solar Crown. This game looks set to provide competition to the highly successful Forza Horizon and Need for Speed franchises. With the backing of the developers of the WRC games, we expect them to rise to the challenge. The trio of Clarkson, Hammond, and May will be back in 2023 for another special episode of the Grand Tour. After the most recent special, their Nordic adventure, A Scandi Flick, the gang will be back on the road for an Eastern European trip, which will reportedly see them travel to Slovenia via Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. This Eastern Europe tour will see them explore the lasting impacts of World War II on this region. There have been reports that Clarkson will be driving a Mitsubishi Lased. Hammond will be in a Chevrolet SSR, and James May will have a Crossley convertible for this journey. To top it all off, according to the Grand Tour Nation, Hammond was involved in yet another crash. Well, it wouldn't be a Grand Tour special without one. In at number 5 is a game that promises to challenge the behemoth that is Mario Kart. Disney Speedstorm will feature characters from across the Disney franchises. So expect to see Mickey Mouse being joined not only by Donald Duck, but also the likes of Jack Sparrow, Hercules, and many more across 4 different racer classes. Gamers will get the chance to race on tracks inspired by the Disney and Pixar movies. The game will be releasing on all previous and current-gen consoles and PC in 2023. We eagerly await for the release of Speedstorm to see if it can truly challenge Mario Kart, the king of the kart among. Our next entry is a game, or rather an upgrade to an existing game, only announced a few days ago at Sony's CES press conference, the VR version of Gran Turismo 7. Sony confirmed that racing sim Gran Turismo 7 will be coming to its new system, the PSVR 2. We at the Car Cult believe that a game that already has industry-leading graphical fidelity and haptic feedback thanks to the PS5's DualSense controller will benefit from the VR experience. The good news for Gran Turismo 7 gamers is that the VR upgrade will be free, although you will have to fork out $550 for the PSVR 2 system. We are excited to see how Polyphony Digital immerses gamers to the real driving simulation experience in VR. Also announced by Sony at CES is the upcoming movie based on the Gran Turismo video game franchise, named quite originally as Gran Turismo, the movie. Due to race into theaters on August 11, this Neil Blomkamp-directed movie is based on a true story about a Gran Turismo player who becomes an actual professional race car driver after winning a series of Gran Turismo competitions. The teaser trailer showed stars including Orlando Bloom and David Harbour, as well as some of the fast-paced action on the racetrack. This is the first of a number of television and movie projects based on PlayStation franchises, including The Last of Us. God of War, Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima, and more. So a lot is riding on Gran Turismo the movie to supercharge its way to success. In at number 2 is the return of the original Forza franchise, Forza Motorsport from Turn 10 Studios. With the successful release of Gran Turismo 7, despite its numerous problems, the relaunch of the Forza Motorsport brand for the new generation of Xbox consoles has a lot to live up to. After a 6-year wait, Turn 10 Studios announced the game at the Bethesda Games Showcase with a gameplay trailer that promises to bring the most luscious tree, leaves, and water effects in any game. With the highly acclaimed Forza Horizon series pumping out 2 games since Forza Motorsport 7, the pressure really is on this reboot to deliver a premium racing simulation experience. Our number 1 pick for the most exciting car-related entertainment event of 2023 is Fast 10, serving as a sequel to the 10th installment in the Fast Saga franchise, promising to be one of the biggest entertainment events of 2023. With a budget of $340 million, expect to see fast cars, wild stunts, and many of our favorite family members returning, including Dom, Roman, and Letty. We won't, however, be seeing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson come back to the franchise, following a feud with Vin Diesel, where he called Diesel's Instagram post asking him to rejoin as manipulation. We can expect to see some of our favorite cars return, including the Mazda RX-7 from Tokyo Drift, and we will see some new cars, with Fast 10 expected to be the first movie in the franchise to feature electric cars. Yes, you heard that right. This movie will be the penultimate entry in the franchise, with the final installment planned for February 2024, and we just can't wait. Do you agree with our list, or is there something we missed? Let us know in the comments. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this one and helping this channel grow, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon. And if you have any suggestions for content you would like to see on this channel, leave a comment below. And that's all for now. Welcome to the Car Cult. The Vision Gran Turismo project was introduced to celebrate the 15th anniversary of the seminal real driving simulation series Gran Turismo. This has now become a major feature of the video game series and has transcended into real-life car design. A total of 30 car manufacturers have taken up the challenge to design the ultimate concept car, where the rules of physics and the boundaries of reality are no barrier to the perfect car. These car manufacturers have now produced designs for 53 car variants, and we are seeing the design language of these virtual cars translating to their real-life counterparts. And in some cases, these have shown up as concept builds at car shows, and in the case of the recent McLaren Vision GT, translated to a car you can buy, if you have $3,600,000 to spare, that is. We have seen the likes of Mercedes, Aston, Dodge, and now even Ferrari joining the fray in designing the ultimate car across 3 Gran Turismo games: Gran Turismo 6, Gran Turismo Sport, and the latest game, Gran Turismo 7. The masters of their art, Polyphony Digital, look like they will be encouraging car manufacturers to reach for the awesome, and in some cases the downright weird, for many years to come. Before we launch into our top 10 list, to give all manufacturers a fair shake, we are limiting the list to 1 car per manufacturer, so you won't be seeing the 3 different versions of the Dodge SRT Tomahawk on this list. Now with that out the way, here are some honorable mentions. First up is perhaps the weirdest ever car designed for the Vision GT project, the Chevrolet Chaparral 2X Vision GT. This 1-seater concept car is intended as a look into the future of motorsport. Said to be powered by a 671 kilowatt laser energy system, which is capable of producing 900 brake horsepower in a car that weighs only 450 kilograms, which is why this car can travel from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 1.5 seconds. The laser system works by sending pulse beams of light which focus on a shroud, creating shock waves that generate the massive thrust. The project is a joint venture between General Motors and Chaparral Cars, with a full-scale model even being shown off at the LA Auto Show in 2014. Next up in our honorable mentions is from the venerable British marque Jaguar. The Jaguar Vision Gran Turismo Coupe first appeared in the Gran Turismo sport game and looks rather conventional when placed next to the previous entry. This all-electric car is powered by 4 motors producing 1,004 brake horsepower. Considering Jaguar's push to go all-electric by 2025, this really could well be a halo car to revitalize the brand, should they ever produce such a monster for the road. Now, on to the top 10 best Vision GT cars. First appearing in Gran Turismo Sport, the Audi e-tron is a purely electric-powered race car for the future. The car was initially developed by Audi Design for the Vision Gran Turismo competition. The car is a tribute to the Audi 90 IMSAR GTO from 1989. As with its predecessor, the Audi e-tron Vision GT is ahead of its time with its 3 200-kilowatt electric motors, with a quattro 4-wheel drive with variable power distribution, sending this car from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds. Audi even produced a prototype construction to use as a race taxi in the Formula E racing series, making this the first virtual Vision GT car that is fully functional on real racetracks. This sporty fastback 4-door car from Subaru perhaps points to what the next WRX STI might look like in the future. The car combines Subaru's famous flat 4 engine with 3 electric motors to produce what might seem an understated 605 brake horsepower. But when combined with the weight-reducing use of carbon materials, this car can pack a punch on any racetrack in the world. The Subaru Vision GT comes with torque vectoring lamps built into the fenders to visualize movement, and power is distributed to all 4 wheels through Subaru's all-wheel drive system to make this aggressively packaged body live up to its looks. Next up is the Hyundai N 2025 Vision Gran Turismo, which was first playable on the closed beta version of Gran Turismo Sport. The Hyundai N features a hydrogen fuel cell system, which features dual fuel stacks providing 500 kilowatt of power, or the equivalent of 670 brake horsepower in old money. The Hyundai N comes with a supercapacitor system generating an additional 201 brake horsepower by energy regeneration when braking. A full-scale model was first presented at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 2015, showing off its aerodynamic shape, L-shaped LED headlights, and its close resemblance to modern LMP1 car. 7th on this list is the car to kickstart the Vision GT project. All the way back in 2013, Gran Turismo 6 introduced the Mercedes-AMG Vision Gran Turismo. It's powered with an AMG 5.5-liter V8 engine, producing 585 brake horsepower. Mercedes even introduced a racing version of the car, which upped the power and trimmed a few kilos, giving it an extra oomph. The German manufacturer took inspiration from the legendary 300 SL racing car, which won the 3rd Carrera Panamericana in 1952. With its aluminum space frame body and carbon fiber components, this is a car fit for a superhero, which is what Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne did when he rocked up in the car in Justice League. The car that started the Vision GT journey is more than deserving of its place on this list. Could the Toyota FT1 be what a special edition racing version Toyota Supra looks like? First appearing in Gran Turismo 6, the FT1 with its wide wheel arches, large intakes, and massive wing is designed to appeal to the die-hard patrol head and Gran Turismo fan. The FT1 concept potentially comes with a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4 engine similar to a Super GT, producing 614 brake horsepower. Now Toyota, it's time to make this car a reality and bring the Supra name back to the heights of its heyday of the Castro GT. In 5th place is a monstrous offering from McLaren. First introduced in Gran Turismo Sport, this hypercar comes packing with a 4-liter V8 hybrid engine, producing 1,134 brake horsepower, with electric motors assisting each of the front wheels. And when that power is coupled with a weight of only 1,000 kilograms, you can see why this car has a top speed of 230 miles per hour. Within the cockpit of the car, the driver sits in a motorcycle-like driving position, which allows the driver to operate in a cabin placed extremely forward, giving the driver an ability to hit the apex of corners every time. The McLaren Ultimate Vision Gran Turismo is packaged in a highly optimized aerodynamic body, allowing the air to flow through inlets and over the body in a way that reduces drag and improves downforce. And if you ever thought I would love to own one of these, well, you can. McLaren have recently announced they will be producing 25 McLaren Solus GT cars for select owners, giving them a chance to take their virtual Gran Turismo experience to the real world. The McLaren Solus GT will come with some slight changes, including a more orthodox driving position and a naturally aspirated 5.2-liter V10 engine revving to 10,000 RPM. Even with these differences, the Solus GT does bear a striking resemblance to its virtual cousin, with the same central closed cockpit, fighter jet-style canopy, and its wild aerodynamically optimized body. If there is any car that shows the importance of the Vision GT project and demonstrates future car design, it has to be the Bugatti Vision Gran Turismo, which since its launch in 2015 in Gran Turismo Sport, spawned the mighty Bugatti Chiron only a year later. The Bugatti Vision Gran Turismo comes packing with Bugatti's legendary 8-liter 16-quad turbocharged engine producing 1,626 brake horsepower, in a package which celebrates the Type 57 Bugatti which took victories at Le Mans in 1937 and 1939. The Bugatti Vision Gran Turismo would even go on to spawn the world's fastest car, when the Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300 Plus took the record when it was clocked hitting 304.7 miles per hour. Sometimes the car manufacturers produce a car for the Gran Turismo games, which takes wild liberties with reality. That's exactly what our next entry did when Dodge gave us the SRT Tomahawk X Vision Gran Turismo car, the most extreme version of the SRT Tomahawk concept cars within the Gran Turismo game. With its 7-liter V10 engine, the Tomahawk X produces a mind-bending 2,586 brake horsepower in a package weighing only 749 kilograms. The car, or what might be more accurately described as a fighter jet, can hit a top speed of 404 miles per hour. There are some downsides to all this power. The car comes with some poor braking and handling stats, which makes it nearly impossible to take a corner without spinning off wildly. And in at number 2 on this list is the Lambo V12 Vision Gran Turismo. First launched in 2019 at the Gran Turismo Championships World Finals in Monaco. The car was originally penned to appear in the Gran Turismo Sport game, but only made its debut in Gran Turismo 7. The car comes with an engine derived from the Lamborghini Sian with its V12 hybrid engine, produces 819 brake horsepower, sending it to a top speed of in excess of 220 miles per hour. Could this car also provide a vision of how the much-rumored Aventador replacement will look? Our number 1 entry on the list and the best Vision GT car is also the most recently announced car, comes from the prancing horse manufacturer Ferrari. First revealed at the 2022 Gran Turismo World Series World Finals, the Ferrari Vision GT draws inspiration from the Italian supercar manufacturer's unparalleled racing pedigree, including Ferrari's highly successful 1960s and 70s prototypes, particularly the Ferrari 330 P3. The Ferrari Vision GT is powered by a 3-liter V6 engine and 3 electric motors, producing a total of 1,363 brake horsepower, making it a more extreme version of the V6 adopted on the Ferrari 499P. What next for Vision GT? Which manufacturers would you like to see produce a new concept car for Gran Turismo 7? Do you agree with our list, or were you hoping to see another Vision GT car on the list? Let us know in the comments, and if you are interested in seeing more videos like this one and helping this channel grow, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon. If you have any suggestions for content you would like to see on this channel, leave a comment below. And that's all for now. Welcome to the Car Cult. On today's list, we count down the coolest new cars launching in 2023. This year, we'll see some of the most exciting sports cars, hypercars, and SUVs that the world's leading car manufacturers have to offer. 2023 will see the prancing horse manufacturer introduce its first SUV, the successor to the Aventador, and some of the most exciting electric performance cars. Before we launch into our top 10 list, here are some honorable mentions. Our first honorable mention is the Rolls-Royce Spectre. This will be the first electric Rolls-Royce and will come in the form of a two-door coupe. As with all Rolls-Royces, you can option to the hilt, including starlight doors, on which 5,876 LED lights create the effect of a starfield at night. The Spectre, whilst coming in at 3 tons, will be able to match a Cayman GT4 to 62 miles per hour, with its 577 brake horsepower electric powertrain, which will be able to draw upon 120 kilowatt-hours battery, with a 323 miles range between charges. The Spectre will come fitted with 23-inch wheels, which will be the biggest seen on a Rolls since the Silver Ghost 100 years ago. This massive SUV comes in at 5.1 meters long and kitted out with a V8 4.4-liter petrol engine with 2 electric motors. The BMW XM will produce a huge 653 brake horsepower, as well as 737 foot-pounds of torque. The XM will be able to go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.3 seconds, despite its claimed 188.3 miles per gallon efficiency and an all-electric range of up to 55 miles. This will be the first electrified M high-performance drive and will be an example of things to come. BMW will also be releasing a new BMW XM label red version of the car, which will come with 750 brake horsepower and 1,000 Newton meters of torque. Now, on to the top 10 coolest cars coming in 2023. In at number 10 is the Aston Martin Valkyrie. We have known about this Adrian Newey designed car since 2016. The exterior and interior has now been finalized and will come with a V12 hybrid powertrain producing 1,160 brake horsepower. The Valkyrie will go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 2.6 seconds and weighing in at a meager 1,100 kilograms. The first owners started to receive the first cars in late 2021, but these were in beta form, without the active aerodynamics and suspension operational. 2023 will see the Valkyrie in its intended form for the first time on the road. At 9 is the successor to the Pagani Huayra, which will come with 846 brake horsepower Mercedes-AMG Source 6.0-liter twin-turbo V12. The Pagani Utopia will weigh in at just 1,280 kilograms, despite the beauty of its interior stylings, something which no other manufacturer, let alone sports car manufacturer, can compete against. As with previous Pagani models, expect to see various special versions and racetrack-only cars come out over the course of its lifetime. 2023 will see us finally get a touring version of the M3, powered with a 3-liter 503 brake horsepower turbo straight-six engine as the current M3 and M4. The Touring will produce 510 brake horsepower and will be able to get from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.6 seconds. The car will come with MX drive and an 8-speed M Steptronic transmission with drive logic. The EMX drive system will combine the rear-wheel drive experience with the control of an all-wheel drive car. The M3 Touring will sport exterior styling through flared wheel arches, twin tailpipes on either side of the rear, and with the M Carbon option selected plenty of carbon fiber on the front bumper, mirrors, and rear diffuser. Hyundai's N-Performance division has given us some fantastic cars over recent times, including the i20 and i30 hatchbacks, as well as the Kona SUV. The Hyundai Ioniq 5N will, however, be its first venture into electric cars. Recent spy shots indicate a larger rear spoiler and bigger front air intakes, with the car expected to be powered to around 600 brake horsepower, which it will share with the Kia EV6 GT. The 5NE is predicted to come at 0 to 62 miles per hour in under 3.5 seconds and 100 miles per hour in 8 seconds, rivaling the pace of Porsche 911. Next up is the Ford Mustang, revealed at the 2022 Detroit Auto Show. Will come with sharp creases and lines where the curves used to be on the previous model. This 7th-generation version of the Mustang muscle car will be sold with the familiar 5-liter V8 engine, enhanced for better performance and increased fuel efficiency. As with the current model, you'll also be able to get the Mustang with the 2.3-liter 4-cylinder turbo EcoBoost engine, but with increased power of 286 HP. The Dark Horse version will be designed for the racetracks. Get a 500 brake horsepower version of the Coyote 5-liter V8, trick suspension, and a bespoke 6-speed manual. In at number 5 is the new BMW M2 Performance Coupe. The M2 will come packing with a turbocharged 3-liter straight-six engine, producing 454 brake horsepower and 406 foot-pounds of torque. The car will achieve 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 4.1 seconds, giving the M4 a run for its money. The car is not expected to be as playful as its predecessor, but according to BMW, quicker around the racetrack with the ability to switch between 3 driving modes: road, sport, and track. The M2 will be the end of an era, as it will represent the last pure petrol engine model from the BMW M division. The car will cost less to buy than its competitors, the Alpine A110 and the Porsche 718 Cayman GTS 4.0, despite coming with active locking rear diff and bespoke calibration of steering, diff, and stability control. 2023 will see the return of the Alfa Romeo Halo car. We have had to wait a long time since the stunningly beautiful 8C was released in 2007. This new car will be based on the same platform as the Maserati MC20 and will come with both internal combustion and EV version. The choice of powertrains could see a tri-motor EV and an enhanced twin-turbo V6. We have seen featured on the Giulia and Stelvio Quadrifoglio. The stylings of the Alfa are likely to harken back to some classic Alfas of yesteryear, and particularly the iconic 33 Stradale. In at 3 is the midlife update to the current 911 sports car. By popular demand, Porsche will be introducing an off-road biased Dakar model. The 4-wheel drive 911 will come packing with a 3-liter twin-turbo flat-six engine producing 473 brake horsepower and a height-adjustable suspension and reinforced chassis. The Dakar will come with Pirelli Scorpion tires, fitted as standard to ensure there is plenty of grip on mud, sand, snow, and gravel. Whilst the top speed of the Dakar is limited to a mere 149 miles per hour to stop the tires from bursting, it will still get from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 3.5 seconds. You can even get a sense of nostalgia by giving the Dakar a Rothmans livery via a $20,000 Rally Heritage paint job. To give the Dakar the authentic off-roading experience, you can fit it with a powered roof rack that has integrated spotlights. Our number 2 pick is the Ferrari Purosangue. Just don't call it the company's first SUV. Rather, this is the prancing horse manufacturer's first 4-door 4-seater car in its 75-year history. The Purosangue, meaning thoroughbred in Italian, comes with a mid-front mounted naturally aspirated 6.5-liter V12 engine producing 715 brake horsepower and a top speed of 192 miles per hour. The car has a 49-51% weight distribution to ensure the car is well balanced when taking any corner, whether on the road or the racetrack. The performance figures of the Purosangue are class, leading with 0 to 100 kilometers in 3.3 seconds and 0 to 210.6 seconds, giving both the Lamborghini Urus and the Aston Martin DBX 7070 run for its money. We can't wait to see what the Purosangue can achieve when it arrives in 2023. And if you want one, well, the cars are sold out for the first 2 years, so you'll have to look forward to paying over list for the privilege to get your hands on a car that's a surefire hit for Ferrari. The coolest car of 2023 is the successor to the Lamborghini Aventador, the Lamborghini Revuelto. Sticking with the naming convention, the Revuelto is named after a bull, this time a Spanish bull from 1880. As was anticipated ahead of the announcement, the Revuelto will be hybrid-powered, courtesy of a 6.5-liter V12 engine and 3 electric motors, delivering a combined power of over 1,000 horsepower. The Revuelto comes 11 years after the introduction of the Aventador and has a lot to live up to. We at the Car Cult are confident that Lamborghini can live up to those expectations, considering, for one thing, it will be a step ahead of the Aventador with its dual-clutch gearbox, as well as the styling first pioneered in the Lamborghini Sian with its Y-shaped daylight beam. The Revuelto will also come with an active aero spoiler, giving it 66% more downforce than its predecessor. Look out for some more in-depth videos on the Revuelto and some of the other cars on this list and more. Do you agree with our list of the coolest cars coming in 2023? Or was there something we missed? Let us know in the comments, and look out for our more videos on the most exciting cars coming to the road and racetrack soon. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this one and helping this channel grow, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon. And if you have any suggestions for content you would like to see on this channel, leave a comment below. Until next time.
Welcome to the Car Cult. On today's show, we launch a new series on the Car Cult channel, The History of Cars. In this series, we explore the nearly 200 years of the motor car. We will be diving deep into car brands and models of today and yesteryear. We will be exploring how the invention of the motor car changed the course of history and left an indelible mark on human civilization. So buckle up for some of the most fascinating stories that the motor world and history has to offer. On our very first show, we will be taking a look at how the venerable Ford Motor Company helped win World War I for the Allies. From 1914 to 1918, the war to end all wars led to the death of millions and the destruction of much of Europe. At the same time, the Great War was transformative for the motor industry, both in the use of vehicles on the battlefield and for the way we all choose to travel to work, to visit the local shopping mall, or traveling cross-country for a holiday break. Chapter 1. The Beginnings. The Ford Motor Company was founded in 1903 by Henry Ford. Henry was the eldest of 6 siblings born in 1863 in Michigan. Henry's parents, William and Mary Ford, were farmers, but this was not the destiny for Henry. By the time he was 12, Henry was spending most of his spare time in a small machine shop, and at 15 he would construct his first steam engine. As a young man, Henry moved to Detroit and became an apprentice at a number of different companies before he landed an engineer role at the Edison Illuminating Company in 1891. Henry quickly progressed and soon became chief engineer, which allowed him to branch out on his own. Thomas Edison would become Henry's lifelong mentor and friend. In 1896, Henry created the quadricycle, his very first car. At home, Henry Ford went on to found the Detroit Automobile Company in 1899. This turned into a disaster for Ford and its investors, when only 20 vehicles were built and $86,000 were lost. The company was reorganized into the Henry Ford Company. Henry would go on to leave the company bearing his own name in 1902, which was again reorganized into the Cadillac Automobile Company by Henry Leland. In 1903, the Ford Motor Company would be founded by Henry Ford and a group of investors. The first car to be built by the company, the Model A, would be sold a month later in July 1903. In 1908, Ford would introduce the Model T to America and the world. Demand was so high, Ford were forced into developing a new revolutionary mass production technique. This innovation allowed a new Model T to be built from start to finish in just 90 minutes. By 1911, Ford would expand out of their Mack Avenue plant with a branch assembly plant in Kansas City, the first of its kind. Another first would be the company's overseas production plant in Manchester, England. The revolution in car production would not end there. In 1913, Henry Ford introduced the world's first moving assembly line for cars, and in 1914 would seek to further boost production by increasing daily wages to $5 for an 8-hour day. By mid-1914, there were more than 500,000 Model Ts on the roads around the world. The success of the industrialist Henry Ford and his Ford Motor Company appeared to be unstoppable. Unbeknownst to Ford and to the rest of America, the world was to be plunged into war on a scale and ferocity of which had never been seen before. Chapter 2. The Great War. On June 28, 1914, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne is shot dead by a gunman. Gavrilo Princip, during a visit to Sarajevo, the capital of the Austrian province Bosnia. The killer is backed by Serbian terrorist group, the Black Hand. This triggers frantic negotiations between the great powers of the time, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Germans, Russia, France, and Britain. Serbia refuses to abide by all the onerous demands placed on it by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. On July 28, backed by Germany, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. Russia quickly steps in to support its ally and mobilizes its army. Germany then goes on to declare war on Russia. France begins preparations for war as a supporter of Russia. Whilst many view the fighting will be short-lived and the leaders of these nations will see sense, the war will go on to drag the British Empire into the conflict when Germany attacks France via neutral Belgium. With the entry of Britain into the conflict, this becomes the first truly global war, and by early August reaches into the overseas territories of France, Britain, and Germany in Africa. World War I goes on to also be the first mechanized war, with the introduction of tanks and armored cars and trucks beginning to replace the traditional horse and cart. The first offensive using tanks takes place on September 15th, 1916, during the Battle of the Somme, when the Mark I type British tank is committed to the Allies' offensive against the Germans. This results in some small, localized successes, with much of the world at war. One emerging power, the United States of America, has followed American public opinion and stayed out of the war. However, over time, as word of the atrocities committed by the Germans reached the shores of the United States and the sinking of the passenger liner RMS Lusitania by a German U-boat, killing all 1,198 passengers and crew on board, including 128 American citizens, that opinion begins to shift. In April 1917, some 2.5 years after the start of the war, the Americans throw its full support behind the Allies. Chapter 3. Ford enters the war. Mirroring the reluctance of the United States of America to enter into the war, Henry Ford and the Ford Motor Company only started to contribute to the Allies' cause from spring 1917. Prior to this, the Ford Motor Company refused to take orders for any war-related equipment from any country. Henry Ford cited selling war-related equipment and helping any foreign state as at variance with our human principles. Henry Ford's reservations about the war stemmed from his pacifist beliefs that war was created by people who stood to profit from it. In his autobiography, My Life and Work, when commenting on World War I, he said, "I have never been able to discover any honorable reason for the beginning of the World War. It seems to have grown out of a very complicated situation created largely by those who thought they could profit by war." Henry Ford would go on to finance a diplomatic mission to Europe in 1915 when he commissioned the Oscar II ocean liner to become the peace ship to carry himself and several prominent peace activists to Europe. This mission was widely ridiculed in the press and lived up to its low expectations when the negative reaction in the press caused infighting amongst the group, and there was a flu outbreak on board. Ford left Norway 5 days after arriving, having fallen ill. And realizing that the mission had failed, Ford would go on to say in his autobiography that he did not regret the failed mission, and "We learn more from our failures than from our successes." Once the decision was made to support the American war effort, the Ford factories ramped up production and produced some of the icons of the war, including various versions of the Model T and the Ford 3-ton M. 1918, the Ford Motor Company would go on to also produce warboats, military trucks, cannons, and work on research and development into armor technology for vehicles and soldiers on the front lines. Here is a rundown of some of the most important contributions from the Ford Motor Company during World War I. Chapter 4. Model T. Great Britain and France would approach Ford in order to acquire Model Ts for military purposes early in the war. However, Henry Ford's isolationist and pacifist views would put an end to any contributions from Ford to the Allies. The turning point would be the entry of the United States of America into the war. The Model T itself would be adapted for various purposes during the course of World War I. It would see use as a delivery truck, staff, car, and an artillery mover, but is probably best remembered for being adapted for ambulance duty. Many of the Model Ts would be produced in the standard black, and it would be left to American GIs to paint the cars in the iconic olive color that American military vehicles became known for during the war. A total of 5,340 Model Ts were ordered for use by the United States Army. The potential of these ambulances would see France order 2,400 for frontline use. Even during the early periods of the war, when Ford was reluctant to provide any support to the Allies, through some creative acquisition processes, France were able to purchase and adapt 11,000 Model Ts for the French Army. Britain would go on to accumulate a massive fleet of 20,000 to 30,000 Model Ts, whilst the United States military would go on to use the likes of Jeep and Humvee as an adaptable light-duty vehicle after the war. The sheer versatility of the Model T during World War I would be vital for the support of Americans and the Allies. Ford would sell the U.S. military thousands of chassis for various uses, and would even pull units from stock to respond rapidly to the war effort. The United States military would acquire some 15,000 Model Ts, which would allow the American Expeditionary Force to be the first truly motorized military operation in history. The flexible and reliable Model T would show that the days of the horse and cart are not just numbered in American middle-class suburbs, but also on the future battlefield. Chapter 5. Ford 3-Ton M, 1918. The Ford 3-Ton M, 1918, was one of the first American-designed tanks, weighing in at 3 tons, 14 feet in length and a width and height of 6 feet. This small tank was designed to be crewed by 2 people, a driver and a gunner. The tank was armed with an M1917 Marlin machine gun and later on an M1919 Browning machine gun, powered by 2 Ford Model T engines producing 45 horsepower. This tank had a range of 55 kilometers or 34 miles and a maximum speed of a dizzying 8 miles per hour. The M1918 allowed American troops to operate its own indigenous tank, having had to rely on British and French tanks, notably the Renault FT thus far in the war. An initial production run of 15 vehicles were built and tested in France. A contract for 15,000 tanks was awarded to Ford, but the U.S. Tank Corps felt the vehicle did not meet their needs, and the armistice ended the contract with only the original 15 vehicles ever produced. 2 known examples remain, one at the U.S. Army Armor Cavalry Collection at Fort Benning, Georgia, and the other at the Ordnance Collection at Fort Lee, Virginia. Whilst the 3-ton had a negligible impact upon the war, it did prove that the United States had the capability to design and build its own tank, and would go on to reduce American reliance on foreign powers. Chapter 6. Eagle Class Patrol Boat. The first vehicle out of Ford's Rouge plant in 1918 was not a Model T, but rather a submarine chaser called the Eagle Class Patrol Boat, fully utilizing Ford's innovative production line, manufacturing. Ford was churning out 1 boat every 10 days, a record-breaking feat. Henry Ford himself would state in relation to Ford Motor Company's efforts to build the boat, "They were built simply by applying our production principles to a new product." This would be a guiding principle for the Ford Motor Company whenever the United States of America was in need. No more so than 20 years later in World War II. The Eagle-class patrol boat was over 200 feet in length and displaced 625 tons. The boat sought to replace the limited capability of the existing wooden hull submarine chasers, which were limited to coastal work. Henry Ford would be summoned by the President of the United States, Woodrow Wilson, in June 1917 to serve on the United States Shipping Board. Wilson was seeking to leverage Ford's mass production techniques to speed up shipbuilding. When the German U-boat threat was highlighted to Ford, he would be quickly drawn in by the Secretary of the Navy, Josephus Daniels, to build a new craft that no other facility in the United States was capable of producing. He would be directed to produce 100 to 500 Eagle-class anti-submarine patrol boats for the United States at a price of $275,000 per ship. By Armistice Day, 7 ships had been sent to the Atlantic coast, but only 2 had arrived. The original contract was reduced to 60 ships. The ships would go on to see action in World War II, where they were actively engaged in anti-submarine warfare. Only one ship, Eagle 56, was sunk by a German submarine when torpedoes hit the bow and stern, resulting in the loss of 49 men. The remaining boats were decommissioned after the conclusion of the Second World War. Chapter 7. Post-war Ford. Following the signing of the armistice by the Germans on November 11, 1918, the fighting on land, sea and air ended. The peace between Germany and the Allies was formalized in the Treaty of Versailles on June 28, 1919, exactly 5 years after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. With the conclusion of the war and the breakout of an unsettled peace between the belligerents of the Great War, Henry Ford and the Ford Motor Company resumed normal peacetime construction of the Model T. Henry Ford would take over a newspaper titled the Dearborn Independent in 1919. He would use the paper as a means to spread his specific views on pacifism and would controversially name the Jews as profiteering from the war. These views would be picked up by a young Austrian drifter and failed artist named Adolf Hitler. We all know how that ended. The Ford Motor Company would go on to more success after the war. By 1923, over half of the cars produced in the United States would be Ford, and by the end of the 1920s, Ford would have more than 20 overseas assembly plants in Europe, Latin America, Canada, Asia, South Africa, and Australia. A total of 15 million Model Ts would be produced. It would be 20 short years before the world was plunged into another horrifying conflict, and the Ford Motor Company and a bevy of new car manufacturers were called upon by their respective nations to contribute to the war effort in new and unprecedented ways. The war to end all wars turned out to be anything but. However, the motor industry never looked back from this turning point in world history and would come to redefine how we live, work, and play. If you like this type of content and would like to see more, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. We appreciate all your help to grow this channel and the community. Until next time on the Car Cult.